What is up, everybody? This is your boy, AJ Trip. Long time no talk. This is the Game Recording Me podcast. And I had originally wanted to was going to do a podcast, and we were going to talk about the All-Star game, and we were going to talk about the Astros and the cheating scandal. We were going to talk about the XFL and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, the world just stopped. And sports just stopped. And it's amazing as to what has happened over the past 2 weeks. So people getting excited for the tournament, and other people getting excited about other things. Like I said, we had the XFL, the NBA was running down the stretch. Major League Baseball was starting. We were on our way to NFL free agency, and that is still happening. I may talk more about that in another podcast at a later date, but this is going to be about the major pandemic that we are living in right now with coronavirus and how it is affecting the sporting world. And the first was going to be no fans in these events. There was no large gathering of fans. But seemingly once Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz player, he got the coronavirus. Things just shut it down. Period. End of story. There was no thing about playing with fans. And there was no, even for like a while, the NCAA was thinking about still going on with the tournament, and they decided, they're not just going to postpone it. They're just going to cancel it altogether and cancel all of spring sports. And then the NCAA has postponed their season, and the NHL postponed their season. The XFL, they just canceled their season. Hopefully they're going to come back next year, because I did enjoy what I did see in the XFL. I think actually, even though each week the stuff went lower and lower, it's actually still was very, very, I think it was very, very exciting. And so, Vince has taken out enough money to have 2 or 3 seasons invested. So I think they will come back next year. I would be shocked and saddened if they didn't try to come back and make another play for it next year. Like Major League Baseball has postponed everything. They said that no later than May were they going to try to make a comeback. And just other things have just been, and this is, going into the real life and everything like that. There are places they're doing shelter in place where they want you to stay inside. It's kind of locked down. New York apparently has a curfew where you can't stay out at a certain past time. There are a lot of other things that are going on. Coronavirus it has been a pandemic, and it's just been incredible that what has happened with this. This affected the world of professional wrestling as well. The WWE have been putting on events without fans. WrestleMania 36 has been moved from the Raymond James Stadium to the Performance Center, and it's going to be done over two nights, Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you go over to my YouTube channel, AJ Trip, youtube.com/ATrip20 to find out. I'm going to have more about that later on today in my weekly That's a Shoot show, as you would call it. And it's just fascinating what has happened, and it's happened so quickly in the past 2 weeks. And it is. We live in a crazy world right now. We really do, especially now with no sports. That the NFL has said that they are going to like you can get Game Pass for free, so you can go back and watch games. The NBA said that they were going to have League Pass on and free, um, so that they could do that they can have certain things as well. Um, so you can go back and watch games from this past season or even games from the past. You know, NBC Sports Chicago has been replaying old Bulls games from the Jordan era. From the dynasties. So it's so weird. I think Major League Baseball are doing the same thing as well. So this is amazing, and it's hard because sports are so. For a lot of us, sports are the ultimate distraction for what is going on in the real world. Whatever it has been. It's always a destruction. When 9/11 happened, sports was there to, even though they stopped for a week, when the sports came back, it was there for us to pick us up and everything like that. It was there for us, to give us that hope and that time out to take us away from that awful day. Um, There's just been so many other things sports does for us. They are the ultimate reality show. They are the ultimate reality show. To have people, in combat and not only hand-to-hand combat, right, with MMA, boxing, and wrestling, but also just like the kind of physical combat of the National Football League and the NHL, and even to that lesser extent the NBA. Just all of that has just been, it is like a major deal for us. And a lot of us don't know what to do. I guess, a lot of people are watching a lot of Netflix and a lot of other things as well, catching up on the stuff that they need to catch up on. I think, like me, I've got a backload of the Goldbergs and Blackish that I need to catch up on. So, I can do that. But so it's just been really, really, it really has, and it can expect it to get weirder because even though I do believe that things will get better, but there still could be a whole lot of other things. Like from my hometown in Chicago, there's like a thing where they said that they don't want any public gatherings, for the next few months. So the earliest of your public gathering would be maybe June 1st. So even if they say, well, yeah, you can go out and you can, it's okay, and then we're going to come back to the NBA. Or one of the things like Major League Baseball, right? Major League Baseball says that it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks, so probably the middle of May. Right? So they come back in May. They're going to be tough to play without fans. They're going to be playing without fans anyway, because there may be an ordinance from Major League Baseball. So yeah, we're going to come back, but we're not going to have fans for a few months, right? So it's all of it is just it's right for right now. This is, I don't want to call it the new normal, because this isn't normal. We shouldn't think it's normal, but it's just our reality. I think it's the new reality right now. Not the new normal, it's the new reality, right? So I think that is the big deal right here. This is our new reality. There's a lot of other things that we need to think about when you're talking about sports, right? Because I think if some of these sports leagues do they need to cancel things, in particular the NBA and the NHL? Should they cancel their seasons? You know, and I've been going back and forth on this, and I'll speak from NBA standpoint because I'm not a big fan of the National Hockey League, but from NBA standpoint, right, you have pros and cons on every situation, right? So so in this situation for the NBA, I think you get three options. You get three options, right? There's the option of um, if you are canceling the season, you know, at this point, if things aren't getting better as we think it is and quickly or anything like that, then yes, okay, then we need to cancel the season. That's just the way it is, right? We need to cancel the season. You know, we're not going. No, we're not going to be able to. Because there are NBA players. Not only Rudy Gobert, who was like the one that kicked it off, but his teammate Donovan Mitchell, Christian Wood of the Detroit Pistons, and then Kevin Durant for Nets player and three other Nets players been tested and positive for coronavirus. There have been some Sixers personnel. I don't know if there's been any players. Sixers personnel. I think they said two Lakers players got it as well. Marcus Smart of the Celtics has caught it. So, are you going to risk it transmitting again by coming back and playing with all of these people players? Now, it's supposed to be a thing like you're supposed to quarantine for 15, 20 days. I think at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks, but 15 to 20 days, right? And then it should be out of your system if you are a relatively healthy person. So even though they've been tested positive for the coronavirus, if they were to come back, let's say in June and start up again, then maybe it shouldn't matter. But you never know because right now it's not flattening out the way that everybody wants it to be. At least here in America, it has in some other places. Back in China, even apparently back in China, they have even where this started. Their basketball league is getting ready to start back up. I saw on Twitter where guys like Lance Stevenson and Jeremy Lin and others, they were called back over there because the game was the league getting ready to start back up again. So they got enough flattened out so that to where they can start back with their their league and their sports. And you hope that's what you can be here where where you get that league where the leagues can start back up. But that's a big decision to cancel a whole season. The teams have played for the most part. They didn't play most of their games. They played 62, 63, 64 games, and you're gonna they put in all of this hard work just for it to be canceled, and it'll be canceled for a good reason. The question was still, it's almost like the way people think about the NCAA tournament. It's canceled, and it's like we did all that work, and especially with a team like the Dayton Flyers, who had a fantastic shot of actually going far and winning the national championship, and they may never get that opportunity again. And it's just canceled. That's what a lot of people say. Maybe we could just postpone the tournament. But teams like Duke and teams like Kansas, they have said that they were not going to play, and some other schools might have said that same thing as well. So who knows what it is? So it's just it's mind blowing. It really is. So that's one thing the NBA do. They can go the route of the NCAA and just cancel everything, right? And then I think a second one is let's just cancel the regular season. Let's cancel the regular season. Let's stop what it is, and then when we come back, we'll just come back with the playoffs. We'll just come back with the playoffs, and the seeds are set. The seeds are what the seeds are, and we'll give these guys a couple of weeks to get back and groove things, and then we'll start the NBA playoffs. That I think would be okay. I think they could do that. I almost think to be very honest with you, that might be the best way to go about it, because I don't know if there are going to be any other ways that any other jockeying for position, you know, maybe maybe over the next 10 to 20 games, how many games get left, right? Some teams can switch positions. For instance, maybe like I think the Grizzlies are 8th and the Pelicans are 9th in the Western Conference, and maybe the Grizzlies are going to losing streak, Pelicans are going to in the winning streak, and then that would propel the Pelicans into the playoffs, and we get more Zion Williamson, right? So that more Zion, more better, right? But again, it's about the health risks, and you're trying to do things where you want to give entertainment to the fans. You want to, reward the players for their hard work throughout the season by having them fight for the reason why they do all that hard work, and that's for the NBA championship. But it's going to be a real tough decision. It's going to be a real tough decision for Adam Silver. And then, of course, they have the option of just starting back up from where they started and just continuing finishing out the season, playing all 82 games, and going to the playoffs. And I think one of the things that could be wrong about this one, it could be the fact that you would have to try to get the buildings to have because the buildings could have other things set up for other things in the future. They could not. But like how you gonna like do the games and how would you are you just gonna take the rest of the schedule that that was set and then just move those and put those on different days and things like that or how would you go about doing that schedule and how would you go about it's to me, I think it's just a logistical nightmare to do. To try to restart up the season. It really does. I think it really does. I think it's going to be a logistical nightmare to try and get that done. Now, I think one of the main pluses of doing something like this, restarting the whole season again, could be that it could reset the NBA calendar. But there have been talks for a while that the NBA needs to reset the calendar, right? Usually the NBA starts late October. Oh, and in the last couple of years, actually, they started even earlier. They started even in mid-October. But normally, from the past, it's been late October, early November, right? But there's been some thought that maybe what you want to do actually is you want to start the NBA season at Christmas time, because at that point you're just barely right. You're just barely competing with the NFL. That's one of the big reasons why they want to do that, because they are competing in the middle of the NFL season, right? You don't get those special days. You compete them in college football as well. So even though there's a lot of games on Saturday, and there are sometimes games on Sunday, right? You're not really getting the coverage that you like, because college football and pro football are so dominant that there's absolutely no reason why you're not going to compete with them for your for ratings and time and everything like that. So there's been some other talk. So let's start at Christmas, because for the last several years, Christmas anyway has been the day of the NBA. They do 5 games every day, it seems like, on Christmas. So that's what he would, So why not just start there? Have start on Christmas. And that would be one of the things that would happen. Because if you were to, restart the whole season, right? Restart the whole season and everything like that, you would, in in case, right? What you would do is you would actually go ahead and um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, you would be pushing back that one. So let's say that the NBA they did exactly what Major League Baseball is doing. They're gonna wait 6 to 8 weeks and they're gonna come back in the middle of May. So you would come back in the middle of May and you would play games and then you finish up the season. So you would probably take up the whole rest of May and in June. And the playoffs would start in July. And the playoffs would go from July into August, maybe even into the beginning of September, right? So you would have all of this. And then maybe what you could do then at that point then is you could start, you could have the thing, you could have the, now you would be competing during the NFL at the start of the NFL season, but still you would at least, get that done. So it's a whole way to do. But what all of this what I'm leading up to is basically you would be able to then at that point reset the season to where if you did not postpone it or anything like that, where you could just start, and you can do this with just the playoffs too. But you can do this with just the playoffs, where if you just cancel the playoffs, right? And you still get to do it, and then you can have it to where the playoffs would end in August. At the end, it would end in July or end in August. If you just, you cancel the season and just did the playoffs, and then you can still do the whole thing where then you come back later at December and start again. So that would be the very plus of doing that for the NBA. But it's like I said again, I think that's the best one, just doing the playoffs. Because like I've been saying, I just think trying to redo the whole schedule and everything like that, I just see it as a nightmare, a logistical nightmare for everybody involved. And I think it would probably just be best if they went ahead and just went ahead and they just canceled the rest of the season, and then when they come back. You do come back, but just come back with the playoffs. Just come back with the playoffs. And that's something that the NHL is going to have to consider as well. Yeah, I do think there is a difference between the NBA and the NHL, and many differences. NBA is a lot more popular. You know, and other things. But then you're also talking about the ice, right? And you're talking about going into the summer, them playing on ice. And I'm sure they play into the summer as well. They play into June as well. Does the NHL finals? They play into that as well. But we're talking about not going into August, even hotter month, July and August, hotter months in June, and trying to keep the ice on there. And also I think the NBA has never lost a season. The NHL has lost several seasons, including recently in the last 15 to 10 years. I believe they lost 2 seasons over that time. And so losing this one is not going to hurt the NHL at all. So I think the NHL should just be canceled. And they should just cancel their stuff and try to come back in the fall. But the NBA is a totally different story. And then you talk about Major League Baseball, right? Major League Baseball, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to fit 162 games in a lot less time? Are they going to, have a reduced schedule? Are they going to do like 100 games? Are they going to cut it in half and do 81 games? What are they going to do when they come back? So they've got a big talking point, that they need to go over as well. the sim. So I think it is going to be crazy to see what happens over these next couple months with sports. How does it affect everything that's happening? Who comes back? What comes back? When does it come back? How does it come back? And everything like that. I think that's going to be just, it's going to be wild. It really is going to be wild. So yeah, that's going to be it for this podcast. Yeah, like I said, I was, it already talking about I was gonna do some other podcast talking about some of the other things, talk about the All-Star game and all these other things that we're gonna have, and then all of a sudden, just sports just stopped. This week has been some kind of week because we get the NFL. The NFL, even though they're not playing games and they're doing some weird stuff as well, but they have continued on with their season. They signed a new CBA. So I think actually my next podcast, sometime within the next 7 to 10 days, is going to be about that. We're just going to focus directly on the NFL, the CBA, the new year, and all that other good stuff. And what's going on? He signed then Tom Brady's a Buccaneer. What? So that's what we're probably going to do. We're going to talk about the NFL and all that good stuff. In my next podcast, probably within the next 7 to 10 days. Once again, make sure you go over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ATrip20, or just search AJ Trip in the search bar. And for all my wrestling fans out there, That's Shoot will be up. It actually probably should be up right now. It's going to be talk about WrestleMania, how they've been affected by the coronavirus. And now we're doing WrestleMania over 2 days from the Performance Center and all that good stuff. So make sure you go over there. And also make sure you go to patreon.com/AJTrip. Become a Patreon. You got 3 tiers. Once I hit a level of patrons, my patrons will be able to determine what goes down on my YouTube channel, what videos I can talk about, what I talk about here on my podcast, and then what I also do, what video games I play on Twitch. So once I get to a certain amount, you will be able to affect the content that you like so much. And if you don't want to become a Patreon, but you can do it right from anchorfm.com. Right, that's that's my podcast host, my main podcast host. But you can go to anchor.com, anchor.fm, and there you can sign up to become a subscriber. It's anywhere, it's 99-cent tier, it's a $4.99 tier, and it's a $9.99 tier. If you want to support me that way, you can. So you have many ways where you can support your boy. And any support that you offer to give me, I truly appreciate very much. So make sure you guys know that. All right, out there. This means more right now than at any time. Please be good to each other. Be careful out there. And I am out.